Welcome to the Explainer. We have this fundamental idea that people should be held responsible for what they do. But what happens when the person who committed a terrible crime has a mind so broken they can't even tell fantasy from reality? That's the huge question at the heart of a really tragic case we're digging into today.
So let's try to answer that. We're going to unpack the troubling story of Policarpio Rafanan Jr. His case really forces us to walk this incredibly blurry, complex line between mental illness and legal responsibility.
All right, so to really get a handle on this, we've got to start at the beginning, on the night of the crime itself, March 16, 1976. And the thing is, the actual facts of what happened, they were never really in doubt. Okay, so picture this. It's a small family store in the Philippines. Inside, you've got Policarpio Rafanan and 14-year-old Estelita Ronaya, a young girl who works as a house helper for his mother. The two of them are alone, closing up the shop for the night. So Estelita testified that it was late, around 11 o'clock at night. As they were getting ready to close the store, Rafanan suddenly pulled her inside, and this is what he said.
Naturally, she refused. She fought back. But that's when Rafanan grabbed a bolo, which is a large, heavy knife, and threatened her life. He then forced her onto a bamboo bed and assaulted her.
Okay, so here's the thing. What happened that night wasn't really up for debate in court. The facts were pretty clear. Instead, the entire defense, the whole case, was built on this one powerful claim, that Policarpio Rafanan was legally insane when he committed the crime. And this is where things get really interesting. The trial actually had to be put on hold. Rafanan was committed to the National Mental Hospital, and it was there that doctors officially diagnosed him with schizophrenia, a really severe mental illness. And when you look at the medical reports from the 18 months he was in the hospital, they paint this just really vivid picture of a man who was profoundly disconnected from reality. Doctors noted him just staring blankly into space, pacing the floors. He even said he was hearing strange voices that he described as being like a bird. He apparently had no idea why he was even there. I mean, the first clinical report, it couldn't have been clearer. It stated that he was psychotic or insane, and because of that, he was unfit to even stand trial. He was eventually treated, and after more than a year and a half, he was finally deemed well enough to face the court. And when he did, his entire defense rested on this diagnosis. So this presents a real puzzle, right? You have the medical experts, the doctors, saying this man is insane. So that should be it. Case closed. But, well, that's not how the law sees it. And this is really the heart of the matter. Legal insanity is just not the same thing as a medical diagnosis. The law is less concerned with why someone did something and more focused on their state of mind at the exact moment of the crime. In the Philippines, this boils down to two key tests. You've got the test of cognition, basically the knowing test. Did he know what he was doing was wrong? And then the test of volition, the control test. Could he control himself? And let me tell you, the bar for both is incredibly high. And what's crucial to understand is that the courts in the Philippines almost always zero in on that first test, the test of cognition. So the legal question becomes brutally simple. It's not, was he mentally ill? It's, was he so completely disconnected from reality that he had absolutely no idea his actions were wrong? That is the incredibly high bar the defense had to clear. So the big question is, how did the court take this super strict legal rule and apply it to what happened with Rafanan? Well, it all boiled down to his own actions and his own words, both during and right after the crime. First off, you have this absolutely stunning moment in the trial. The defense's own psychiatric expert is on the stand, and under cross-examination, he's forced to admit that yes, Rafanan was conscious of his actions. He was conscious of threatening the victim, conscious of forcing her down, conscious of the act itself. But, the real nail in the coffin for the defense came from what Rafanan did after the assault. He threatened to kill Estelita if she told anyone what he'd done. For the court, that one single statement was all the proof they needed. It showed he understood his act was wrong and that it was something to be hidden. It showed he was aware of the consequences. And right there, that's the key distinction the court made. Rafanan may have been medically schizophrenic, but that threat proved he wasn't legally insane. He failed the test because, in the court's view, he had not suffered a complete deprivation of intelligence at the moment of the crime. So, when you put it all together, what does this case really teach us about the insanity defense? Well, for one, the hurdles are incredibly high. The law starts with the assumption that everyone is sane. It's up to the defense to prove otherwise. And not just in general, but at the exact moment the crime was happening. For Rafanan, his own words became the very proof that he couldn't meet that impossibly high standard. In the end, the court convicted Policarpio Rafanan. They did acknowledge that his illness, his schizophrenia, might have weakened his self-control. But they concluded it didn't completely wipe out his awareness of what he was doing. And that leaves us with this really challenging final thought about the nature of justice, illness, and the complexities of the human mind.